Oh. ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ श्री गणेशाय नमः ॐ श्री सरस्वत्यै नमः ॐ श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पाद शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरं मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवम् परमानन्दमाधवम्. Now we are going to see the entire thing from spiritual perspective. That doesn't mean good action and bad action are one and the same. Careful. Both keep us in bondage doesn't mean both are same. Vedji said anyways good action or bad action, we are going to remain in the bondage of action. Therefore, let us do bad action. No, no. They both are not same. The only thing is they both are going to keep me in that bondage of action. But they both are not same. Okay. Good action is always better than bad action. Now what we have to think about, is there anything which is even better than good action? That is what we have to think. Okay. So many times spirituality, when people enter into and this Punya Papa theory, etc., they understand. And from the spiritual standpoint, as we said that, finally Punya Papa both are a kind of Papa only because they keep us in the bondage of action. So they say, okay, then why? What is the point? I will do whatever I want. That the Yatechacharana is not the solution. Whatever I feel I do, that is not right. Bad action is bad. Good action is good. There is no comparison. We have to think about, is there anything which is even better than good action? That is Karma Yoga. So from Karma now we are shifting to Karma Yoga. Why it is like that? First, let us understand what is Karma Yoga. Then we will come back to the topic, how this Karma Yoga will take me out of the cycle of karma, bondage of action. Karma Yoga is not a particular kind of action. But Karma Yoga speaks about the intention or attitude behind the action. Okay. So Karma Yoga is not a particular action. So when we say that I am performing Karma Yoga, it is not a particular action which I am performing. Okay, this point please note. And because it is not a particular action, but it is the intention or attitude behind the action, it can be done 24/7. If you change the attitude, that action will become Karma Yoga. Is this clear? All other actions, when I'm performing that action, I'm not doing anything else, but I cannot keep on doing the same action throughout the day. So I'm doing other actions also. So all other actions have starting point and ending point because they are physical or mental actions. Whereas Karma Yoga is not an action. It is an attitude behind the action. It is an intention behind the action. And therefore, with whichever action I am performing, if I change the intention or attitude, I am still doing Karma Yoga, and therefore Karma Yoga can be done 24/7. Now, what is Karma Yoga? What does Karma Yoga say? We see in Upadeshara, etc. This is very beautifully explained. Karturadnya prapyate phalam, karma kim param, karma tajjadam. Kriti mahodadau patana karanam, phalam ashashvatam gati nirodhakam. So in the first two verses, he explains how karma is creating trouble for us. First of all, karma is not independent. It is dependent on God. Kartu adnya prapyate phalam. Result we get only by the grace of God. Karma kim param karma tajjadam. It is inert. Also, kriti mahodadau patana karanam. It is the cause of our falling into the cycle of samsara. I just now explained whether I perform good action or bad action, whether punya or papa, whether sukha or dukkha, we remain in that cycle. Kriti mahodadau patana karanam. And therefore, phalam, the result of action is also ashashvatam, is not permanent. And gati nirodhakam, it stops us from our main goal, attaining main goal. Now, in the third verse, Raman Maharshi ji gives the solution. That is where the Karma Yoga comes. Ishwararpitam na ichchaya kritam chitta shodhakam mukti sadhakam. Okay, beautiful. What is he saying? What is Karma Yoga? Ishwararpitam. It is the action which is arpita, which is offered, dedicated unto Ishvara. And very aptly he has used the word Ishvara. Okay. So whichever form of Ishvara we are worshipping, whoever is our Ishtadevata, whether it is Vishnu or Shiva or Devi or Ganesha or Rama or Krishna, anybody, Guru, anybody, actions dedicated unto this Ishvara, na ichchaya kritam. And while performing the action or while getting the result, there is no desire. Here, desire means selfish desire or insistence on the particular result that we want. Then that action is called as Karma Yoga. Any action performed with this attitude becomes Karma Yoga. With what attitude? So generally we say Karma Yoga is Ishwararpana Buddhi plus Prasada Buddhi. Ishwararpana Buddhi, the dedicated performance of the action, dedication unto the Lord. And Prasada Buddhi means whatever result comes, we accept it as blessing or gift from that God. Now, what happens when we perform the action with this attitude? See, all other actions that we are performing are with selfish desires. And therefore, they are generating either punya or papa based on whether the desire is good or bad, whether the desire is, whether the action is good or bad, whether the intention is good or bad. Based on that, it is creating punya papa. But since here, the desire which is prompting the action is not selfish desire, but it is a noble desire of dedicating unto the Lord. The result is not punya or papa. The result is chitta shuddhi, chitta shodhakam, ishwararpitam, nechaya kritam, chitta shodhakam, mukti sadhakam. And with this chitta shuddhi, with this purification of mind, we start to go further on the path of liberation. Mukti sadhakam, it helps me to reach mukti. The same Karma Yoga. The same Karma Yoga purifies my mind and makes me eligible for gaining the knowledge for mukti, for liberation. Okay. So, Karma Yoga is what? Ishwararpana Buddhi. While performing the action, I am dedicating the action to the Lord. And Prasada Buddhi, while getting the result, I am accepting whatever comes as a gift from him. This is called as Karma Yoga. Ishwararpana Buddhi plus Prasada Buddhi. Now, for a moment, let us think among all the kinds of actions which were told. Niyata karma, prayaschitta karma, kamya karma, nishiddha karma. See, among all these actions, Nishiddha karma cannot be performed with karma yoga attitude because the basis of karma yoga attitude is dedication unto the Lord, isn't it? Now we cannot have wrong actions as dedicated unto Lord because God will not be pleased by wrong actions. Even kamya karma cannot come under cannot be performed with karma yoga attitude. Why? Because kamya karma, the basis of kamya karma is selfish desire. It is kamya, it is desire prompted action. So even kamya karma cannot be performed with the attitude of karma yoga. So only thing that can be performed with the attitude of karma yoga is the duty. So in other words, karma yoga is dedicated duty or the duty dedicated unto Lord. And when the result comes, we are accepting it as a gift of God. Is this point clear? So though logically karma yoga is attitude and therefore it should work with any kind of action, but because of its very nature, Nishiddha karma and Kamya karma cannot be performed with the attitude of karma yoga. That's why in third chapter of Bhagavad Gita, we see eighth verse, Bhagavan says, Niyatam kuru karmatvam. You perform niyata karma. You perform your duties. And then in the next verse, he says how to perform yajnarthat karmano nyatra lokoyam karma bandhana. Tadartham karma kaunde. Mukta sanga samachar. He says, other than the yajnarthat karma, there has many meanings. Many meanings can come out of it. Gurudev used to interpret yajna as the selfless, dedicated, cooperative endeavor. Selfless, dedicated, cooperative endeavor. That's called as yajna, according to Gurudev. If you read, it's one of the most unique explanations of the word yajna and very, very apt to today's world. But yajna can also mean God. Yajna vai Vishnu. So yajna can also mean God. So yajnarthat can also mean the actions that are performed for, or the duties that are performed for the sake of the Lord or dedicated to the Lord. Other than these kind of actions, all other actions are going to put me into bondage. Anyatra ayam lokaha karmavandhana. And we have just now explained, we have just now seen how it is going to keep me into the bondage. Any desire any action which is prompted by a desire is going to create punya papa, sukha dukkha, for which I have to, take birth, do more actions, and which will create further punya papa, sukha dukkha, etc. So I am there, bound by that action. But when I am performing duty with the attitude of karma yoga, what is happening? The result is neither punya nor papa. The result is chitta shuddhi. Okay, purity of mind, which does two things. Number one, it takes me outside the cycle of karma, and second, it prepares me for liberation through self-knowledge, of course. Now, as we are performing different kinds of sadhanas, many times we get this funny idea that karma yoga is for beginners. Now I have advanced in spiritual life, and therefore karma yoga is not for me. We get this idea sometimes. We feel that now I am jnana yogi, I am a jnana margi. So what I am supposed to do? I'm supposed to study. The karma yoga, etc., is for other people. Now, please note, even if we are doing bhakti sadhana or jnana sadhana, bhakti sadhana is about a particular kind of action. Puja, japa, chintana, etc. Jnana sadhana also essentially is Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana, etc. It's got a particular action. Though in Bhakti sadhana and Jnana sadhana also, that attitude of devotion, attitude of knowledge can, extend to all actions, but essentially it is a action which starts and ends. And hence, all other times, karma yoga is a must. If we see even in Bhagavad Gita, we always say that Bhagavad Gita, though it was given to Arjuna, but it is not for Arjuna that Bhagavad Gita is given. We say Bhagavad Gita was given to Arjuna for all of us. Shankaracharya also in Bhashya says, Arjunam nimitti kritya. Arjuna is only a medium. Bhagavan is talking to all of us. And we see that again and again in the entire Bhagavad Gita, after everything, after explaining everything, Bhagavan comes back and says, therefore, Arjuna, do your duties with the dedicated performance. Again and again, he comes back to that topic. We see first 6 chapters also, he is explaining Sankhya, he is explaining Sthita Prajna Lakshana. Again, he comes back and says, therefore, Arjuna, do your duty, do Karma Yoga. In the 3rd chapter, Arjuna asks, should I go for Atmajnana or should I go for Karma Yoga? Bhagavan says, Karma Yoga. In 4th chapter also, Bhagavan says, therefore, Arjuna, perform Karma Yoga. In 5th chapter, again, Arjuna asks, should I go for Karma Sannyasa or should I perform Karma Yoga? Bhagavan says, do Karma Yoga. In the 6th chapter, even when the meditation is being explained, what does Bhagavan say? Bhagavan says that meditation is a great thing, and it is the pinnacle, it is the final sadhana. Therefore, Arjuna, do Karma Yoga. Why? Because the essence of Karma Yoga, Sasannyasi cha yogi cha. One who is a Karma Yogi is also a sannyasi and is also a Dhyana Yogi. In 12th chapter, which is the end of the next 6 chapters, 7 to 12, is about Bhakta and Bhakti and Bhagavan. Even there, Bhagavan puts everything, and as the final thing, he says Karma Yoga is the highest. Shreyo hi jnanam abhyasat, jnana dhyanam vishishyate, dhyanat karma phala tyaga, tyagat shantirananta. Again, he puts Karma Yoga on top. Again, in next 6 chapters, we see throughout Bhagavan is talking about knowledge and jnana and kshetra kshetrajna yoga and shraddhatraya and all these different topics he is talking. Again, he comes back in 18th chapter and says, Arjuna, perform karma yoga. Swadharme ganam shreya paradharmo bhayava. Again, that line comes, which is in 3rd chapter also, which again comes in 18th chapter. So all this Upadesha is for all of us. Bhagavan is directly talking to all of us. And therefore, we should never have this feeling, this thought that karma yoga is lower and not for me. That thought we should never have. Okay. Actually, karma yoga is also a brilliant sadhana because so much of rajas which is pent up in us in karma. But because of karma yoga attitude, it is exhausted. We are all born as human beings because there is a lot of rajas. We know our mind doesn't remain at one place. So to exhaust all those vasanas, to exhaust all that rajas, we need karma yoga. Number one. Number two, karma yoga keeps us grounded. Karma yoga keeps us grounded. Why? Because sometimes what happens, no, in jnana yoga, etc., we get the feeling that I have studied a lot. Now I am a very intelligent person. I am a scholar. I know so many things. You just ask Bhagavad Gita, I will tell you immediately. Even sometimes, Vedji, when you make mistakes, I know the correct verse of Bhagavad Gita when you are chanting. You made a mistake, but I know. I am a very intelligent person. Upanishad, you just take the name. I tak, 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 tak. I will tell you everything. Great intellectual person. It gives a kind of high. And even in bhakti sadhana, it happens. Bhakta than other people. It happens. It happens with sadhakas. But karma yoga will keep us grounded. And we see very, very interestingly in Upanishads, whenever the Shishya, the student, disciple approaches the Guru first tells, go and serve. We see in Prashna Upanishad, those who have studied, 6 students are approaching the teacher and they want to ask some questions. Teacher says, first you go and serve the ashram for 1 year, then come back. So one year they serve in the ashram, then they come back, then they are allowed to ask one. So one person asks a question. After that, again 1 year of service, then the second person asks a question. Then again 1 year of service, then the third person asks a question. And the questions also go on becoming subtler and subtler. And therefore, that much of seva is required. Why? Because it keeps us grounded. It creates the tuning to gain the knowledge properly. It creates a right attitude required for bhakti. Okay, so karma yoga is a must. All right. Bhagavan Sri Krishna himself in the third chapter has given many reasons why should we perform karma yoga. 7 reasons he has given. First, he says we should perform karma yoga because it is a means for self knowledge. That purity of mind, we become eligible for the self knowledge. So it is a means for attaining moksha through self knowledge. Second reason he gives is because Brahmaji, the creator, has ordained us to do karma yoga. When he created human beings, he also created yajna, and he said, now with this you flourish, you prosper. Third reason, I'm not going to go in elaboration because you can go to third chapter and find out all these things. Third reason he gives is because there is a cyclic wheel of action in motion, and individual's contribution to that cyclic wheel is through karma yoga. Therefore, we must perform karma yoga. Fourth reason he says that there is an exemption to this law. There are people who are realized who need not do karma yoga. Arjuna, you are not in that category. Therefore, do karma yoga. And through Arjuna, he is talking to all of us. Okay. Number 5, he says we look around how the noble people are living. So because of Shishtachara, because of the noble people also are performing karma yoga. Therefore, we must do. Number 6, he says for Loka Sangraha. If you perform karma yoga, then there are people looking up to you who will also perform karma yoga, and they will also be able to get the result of it. Therefore, you do it. And finally, the 7th reason he gives is Arjuna, I am the Lord of the universe. I have no kartavya karma. I have nothing that can bind me. I am the boss. I can do whatever I want, but still I am doing karma yoga. Therefore, you must also do. So in this way, Bhagavan has given reasons for karma yoga. Okay. Now, as a sadhaka, we have reflected upon 2-3 more reasons. Okay. Because bhakti sadhana and jnana sadhana is not sufficient. So karma yoga sometimes becomes important. Second reason we saw is because there is so much of rajas. To exhaust that rajas, karma yoga is important. Then we also saw that karma yoga keeps us grounded, and therefore karma yoga is important and required. In Vedanta, okay, strictly speaking, karma yoga is not always considered to be different from bhakti. It is generally included in bhakti. Okay. Why? Because the essential point is same, dedication unto God. Of course, in bhakti marga there is a specific there are specific steps, right? Puja, japa, etc. But karma yoga is not very different from bhakti yoga, and therefore it is many times included in bhakti yoga, which is also fine. Okay. As I told you, why? Because of that factor of dedication unto God, which is common. Okay. Just keep this in mind, because sometimes you may come across some, such talks or such topics, such things mentioned in the book. Don't suddenly get surprised that, oh, what is this? Karma yoga? Karma yoga has to be different. Understand when they say that karma yoga is part of bhakti yoga, with what with what similarity they are saying. Just get that point also clear. But otherwise, as we said, as we saw now, karma yoga in itself is independent, is complete in itself. Okay. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Hari Om.